Hey YouTube and Facebook, my name is Shantaram Jones and I'm going to read another story. This story is called Maureen the School Teacher. So here we go. Alright class, quiet down, the bell's about to ring. Maureen Benson attempted to quiet down her class so she could go over her students' 5th grade homework. The kids all were supposed to have finished the night before. Maureen taught in Chicago in an awful area. Lots of crime and dirty businesses were going on around Maureen's school. Miss Benson, look what Kenny got you. Maureen turned around to where all the kids were staring. There was a red, golden, delicious apple on her desk from a particularly sweet child named Kenny. He grew up in a troubled family but enjoyed Miss Benson's teaching. All the kids laughed and started singing, Kenny and Miss Benson sitting in a tree. Kissing. Okay, class, quiet down. Kenny's just trying to be polite. Kenny knew something, though, about Miss Benson that no one else knew. Even Maureen wasn't aware of what it was that Kenny knew. Kenny sat in the back of the class. He was extremely shy and was sharp. He enjoyed art. He was in fact quite the artist. He liked to draw sunsets on the ocean. He would draw the same picture each time, though. It was now March in the year, and the pictures that Kenny were drawing were getting more vivid in detail. Miss Benson's class was over. The bell gave a loud ring to signal the class that school was out. Miss Benson stuck her apple in her purse and rushed home. She was going on a date tonight with a handsome guy named Nick. She steps outside. The sun was shining vibrantly and glistened in Maureen's ever-flowing blonde hair. She was a hot little blonde. The principal of the school even had a thing for Miss Benson. She turned around and closed the blue door to her classroom and locked it. Hi, Miss Benson, what are you doing tonight? One more day until TGIF. Indeed, Jeff. Jeff was one of the school teachers. He was a good teacher but lacked self-confidence when it pertained to women. He wanted Maureen, but knew that she was not man enough for her. Actually, I'm going on a date with a man tonight. Jeff's inhibitions and ego sunk as he knew she might be with another man by now. He wasn't sure, but had a gut feeling. Maureen continued waltzing down the school's hallways until she reached her vehicle. The freshly cut grass could be smelt, and there were 2 men working, trimming the hedges around the school's main office. The brush cut piling up. She knew the men were in for a long haul, as the principal didn't put up with brush staying out overnight. Maureen got home, set her purse down on the kitchen counter, and opened up the refrigerator to enjoy a delicious V8 juice. The vegetables melted on her tongue as she let the juice slide over her tongue and down into her stomach. She loved V8. In fact, that's all she would drink was V8 juice. She enjoyed the regular V8s, not the fruity kind. Maureen finished grading all the homework for her class. She looked at Kenny's homework. He drew the same picture on the back of his homework, a woman on the beach with the sun setting. It was very vivid now. There were rock climbers in the background, and the foam of the ocean's waves were even seen in the picture. He drew with colored pencils what looked like an actual photograph. This time the picture was just creepy in nature. She put down the picture, Kenny's homework, and got ready to go on her date. Maureen didn't want to think about Kenny. She wanted to think about her date. She took a nice bubble bath and pampered herself clean. She took a nice bubble bath and pampered herself clean. She looked like a queen now and was ready to wine and dine. Who knows where this fling would take her, but she was ready for a good night. Her date arrived in a Corvette. Oh shoot, Maureen thought in her mind, a materialistic man. I hate these guys. Nick came up and knocked on the Maureen's door. He didn't even arrive fashionably late. He was right on time. Be there in a minute, she yelled. She was ready but wanted to act as if she wasn't. Hi, Maureen, you look marvelous. Are you ready to go now? Nick opened the door to his black and color Corvette. Maureen thought, at least he opened the door for me. The date was horrible. All he did was talk about his stock portfolio and how well he was doing, not paying any attention whatsoever to Maureen. She went to bed and slept good because she knew that Friday would be a whole new day. Maureen woke up the next morning, energetic as ever. She hurried to class and was ready to teach. She noticed something odd about Kenny. He sat at the back of the class with his eyes wide open, looking shocked. All the class moved their desks away from him and were situated as far away from Kenny as possible. This worried Maureen. "Kenny, why don't you give me your homework from last night and call your sister to pick you up from school?" Kenny scooted his chair back. It made a large scrape on the ground, and he walked up with his eyes wide open. He looked at Miss Benson and started to frown, then laughed hysterically. The laughing could be heard all the way down the hall after he exited Miss Benson's classroom. "All right now, class, let's not talk about Kenny now. Let's just have a good time, as next week we have off for spring break." "Yay!" the class screamed. The bell rang again and class was dismissed. This time a whole week for spring break. The rain poured that night. Maureen was hungry and wanted something to eat. Then she realized that she had the apple that Kenny got for her. She went to her purse and took a bite out of it. It was the grossest thing. She had bitten half a worm apart. The other half of the worm wiggled its way back into the apple. She screamed and spit the piece of apple out of her mouth. The other half of the apple was on the floor, and the worm was wiggling around in that half. She went over and picked up the piece of apple on the floor and tossed it and the rest of the apple into the garbage. Maureen booked a flight to Northern Oregon on the coast for her spring break. She couldn't wait for her much-needed vacation. Maureen awoke the next morning, the rain still pitter-pattering on her rooftop. She got into her vehicle and drove to the airport in Chicago. When she arrived in Oregon, it was beautiful on the coast. She rented herself a car so she could get around. She went to her hotel and graded the homework of her students. She came across Kenny's homework again. This time there was a man in the picture, and the woman in the picture's back was turned. The man had a rope in his hand and was looking at the rock climbers in the background. The man reminded her of someone, but she couldn't make it out. Everything on back of the sheet of homework was detailed amazingly in the picture. She couldn't quite make out who the man was. This was a new feature of the picture. That night Maureen had nightmares about Kenny. His wicked laugh was constantly heard. She kept waking from his laugh being heard down the hallway, and the worm in the apple kept her thinking horrible thoughts. She woke at 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time. 10 hours later, Maureen arrived at a beach in Oregon. She parked her car outside of an old trailer that was overlooking the beach's fresh, salty waters. She stepped outside of her car to feel sand under her feet. Something she wasn't used to in Chicago was sand. She tromped through the sand and tried to find a way down to the beach. Large rocks were blocking the passages to the beach. She had packed a lunch, and her holding the lunch made Maureen lose her balance, and she slipped and fell on one of the rocks to get to the beach. "Damn!" Maureen screamed. She scraped her leg on a rock. Blood began to soak up her pant leg. Maureen's trip was starting to go bad. She limped down the ocean shores and found some rocks to sit on. Maureen was in pain. Her leg hurt and she quivered and shivered as it was windy and cold outside on the ocean. Maureen noticed something strange. She turned to the right and saw a large rock that individuals were climbing, like in Kenny's drawing on the back of the homework. She then noticed that the sun was about to set. Maureen saw a flash and turned to her left and saw the man with the rope in his hand. It was Jeff. "You bitch! All you ever go for is the hot guys in your sports cars. I've been stalking you for years. I've wanted you for so long, and now no one will ever have you." Jeff took his rope and placed it around Maureen's neck and started to strangle her. Maureen gasped for air. No one could hear her scream as she was being suffocated and strangled. Jeff picked up Maureen's body and dumped it into the ocean. The sun had set. 2 months later. These drawings on the back of these pieces of math homework, she kept them photocopied and hidden up here in this cupboard. They were drawn by a Kenny Smith. 2 detectives that were investigating the disappearance of Maureen were searching Maureen's house. They found the pictures. "This kid is an excellent artist. Let's go talk to him." The two detectives drove to Kenny Smith's, the fifth grader's house. They were in awe with what they saw when they entered the room. So that's kind of an interesting story that I wrote. I hope everyone enjoyed it. That was the Shantaram vlog number 6. Have a great day. Bye.